welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, this Korean Asian officer complains about racism in a police department that he's in. But at the same time, quietness on the generations of anti-Black Americanism that goes on in various departments right now, still in 2025. You'll get that reference in a second, which is not by a small percentage of people. So not just certain departments, but blatant anti-American Black racism by various sections of groups of people. Certain sections are turned to a lifestyle category. Sections of ethnicity, certain types of immigrationists. And unfortunately, even the nerve of the ones that have some skin of Black, that are not Black American. I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters that have Black skin, but they're not Black Americans. I'm not talking about some of the good ones. I'm talking about the ones that are tethering us, that fled as fast as possible from various places from the great ancient continent to certain parts of the various beautiful Caribbean islands, and have the nerve to try to talk crazy about Black Americans, but they also have put themselves in various types of departments as well, and still showing blatant anti-American Black hatred. So you see already across the board, there is this consistently of anti-American Black hatred going on. And unfortunately, there are some sellouts, there's some gullible ones within Black Americanism. So here it is in this situation that this particular Korean guy, he thought he was a little different. Because there are ones within certain Asianists, and what applies to, who think because they have the non-color of melanation, they think overall that they are going to be accepted by the predominant base various parts of the culture. And I'm like, right? How many consistently have to get their kind of remindment? As many of them really do wish they can be part of predominant culture. So in this situation right here, he was complaining about racism that happened to him on his department, right? He got a remindment. But at the same time, watch this for a second. He never had to worry about this, nor his cultural context within Koreanism. He had to worry about a Korean colored room, private property, no parking, right? Driving through or turning around. He didn't have to worry about that. His mama and daddy didn't have to worry about that. If they already in America or if they came from Korea as fast as possible to America, doesn't matter. Because either way, that when you look up the Korean population in America, it is minute. It's like less than 0.5. which is less than 0.5%. I mean, it's barely, not even close to 0.5%. That's all. But how many think they want to be like certain personnel within the predominant culture, and it never will be that way, right? But then they have to worry about this situation that Black Americans have to go through. But how many have been able to slide under the minority banner? You said it goes, right? So let me go ahead and share my screen, because it's not going to be a long podcast whatsoever, but it's going to be a good, simple, but powerful podcast. So let me make sure you can see this. All right. Let me make sure you volume is good. Good. All right. Good. All right. And just listen to his words, right? Or listen to some of the things he's not going to say. At this reporter is talking about his situation.
The allegations of racism in the Glendora Police Department are disturbing. And this officer is also alerting the community about what he calls arrest quotas.
I want to pursue a job and a career where I could help people in a tangible way.
Officer Andrew Huang joined the Glendora Police Department in 2023. He says he loves serving his community, but hates being subjected to racial harassment inside the department.
These high-ranking supervisors are telling me and making these jabs and comments at me, knowing that I can't say anything.
He says one incident happened during an end-of-deployment dinner at a sushi restaurant in Rancho Cucamonga. A lieutenant allegedly told him to get back in the kitchen and cook for the group because you're Asian.
They knew that this is wrong. You're not supposed to do this. We're in 2025.
The ignorance of his statement, right? 2025. Right? As if racial racism toward American blacks have changed in the last 4 centuries. See the ignorance of that. But he doesn't even look like he's in his 40s or 50s or let alone 60s. So he still might be in his early to mid 20s, right? And he thought he knew about what was going on. And they showed him various parts of Panama-based culture and all, maybe some white Hispanicism in that department showed him, you ain't still. You are not still, right? And so he got his little feelings hurt, right? Now he wants to complain about racism, but he's quiet on the anti-Black American racism that's been going on for centuries.
You're telling your only Asian officer to go back in the kitchen and cook for them because what? I look different than you because I'm Asian? I'm Korean. I'm not even Japanese.
I don't.
I don't want to go past that real fast. Listen to what he just said. He just sit there and insultedness. He said, hey, look, I'm Korean. I'm not even Japanese. What?
I'm Korean. I'm not even Japanese.
The insulting of that. See, he made sure he played the World War II card, a pseudo World War II card, because the sectionality of Japanese that came up and did the horrificness of the Pearl Harbor attack in World War II, excuse me, the one this applies to, right? I make this point because then isn't it interesting how you have a certain type of Japanese, especially later on, that got reparations, and they won't let you not forget about, how many of the Japanese were put in these camps? Please, how many of those wink wink camps, they still was getting education. There was no barbed wires around there. There was no gigantic guards looking crazy at them. See, they don't want to tell you that part, right? And the other part, see, the thing about in World War II, since there were numbers of Chinese people, right, in World War II, that there are pictures that would show a Chinese person saying, I am Chinese, I'm not Japanese. Let me say this again for the people who don't know. In World War II, you had certain type of agents within, say, in this situation, Chinese. See, that's why I said there is no pan-Asianness either, but you got some fools that keep trying to tell Black Americans to just say, y'all Africans. Get the out with that crap. When you got numbers of Africans, that only want to be Africans. But that's another show topic in itself. So the thing about it, right now, 2025, there is no pan-Asianism. You don't sit there and hear a gigantic amount of Koreans jumping up and down with Chinese all together. No. You don't hear not a lot of Chinese people jumping up and down with Japanese people. I don't think so. You don't hear a lot of Japanese people jumping up and down with, Sri Lankans? No. You don't hear a lot of Sri Lankans jumping up and down with Iranians. What do you mean by that? Yes, because Iran is an Asian country. Oh, my goodness. See, they don't like for numbers of Black Americans to see through these little tactics because Asia's a continent made up of a dozen countries. So you get people that play this little Asian card when it's convenient to them, right? But they make sure to slide right back out. They say, whoa, I'm Korean, I'm Japanese, right? I'm Chinese, right? I'm Vietnamese, I'm Cambodian. They make sure to differentiate when it's time to differentiate and to do I'm Asian when it's convenient for them. And you still got millions of Black Americans stuck in naiveness that still have not solved through that silly freaking tactic, but still talking about minority coalition, communities of color. Oh, God. And you see again what he said. He said, wait a minute now for a second. I'm Korean. I'm not even Japanese. Woo.
I'm Korean. I'm not even Japanese.
I don't know why the city would permit such conduct to go on. They have a growing Asian American population in the city of Glendora. 11% of their population is Asian American, and this is a concern.
Wait, now, right quick, because again, it's not going to be a long show. She said about 11%. See, again, their mentality is stuck on Asian, well, non-Black, non-Afro-Asians or certain Asians when it's convenient for the personnel to do the little sly Asian card, right? 11%, but they're not going to tell you how many Black Americans are in that same city, Glendora. How many Black Americans? Oh, they're quiet on it. And I'm going to sit there and show you just a quick image. They're not going to talk about that. That particular Korean cop is not going to talk about that. However, other personnel, they're not going to talk about that, right? They'll make sure to play the Asian card and with the popper lips, right? They're anti-Asian. I'm Korean. Oh my goodness. Oh, but see, they don't talk about the anti-Black American from certain types of Koreans, from numbers of Chinese. I'm just giving an example of something. See, they don't talk about that. Oh, various other groups of, don't get it, Asians, the ones applies to, they have shown blatant anti-American Black hatred. Don't get it confused. And I'm not talking about some of the good Asians, so we're not going to play that tactic, right? But then they're going to talk about numbers of some of the Black American sisters. Unfortunately, they got some naives to themselves who consistently keep going to various types of Korean shops, who buy their hair, which is a dang insult. People like, God, leave. There are gigantically more Black American women going to Korean owned beauty supply places. And how many of them have gotten, Black Americans have gotten racialized by numbers of angry anti-American Black Koreans, right? But they don't talk about that part either, right? And how many numbers of Black American men have also gotten blatant anti-American Blackism by certain type of Koreans, right? They don't talk about that. Both I was getting at, but she said 11% in that particular city, the Glendora part of it, is Asians, which is very generically. You see that again, they play generically Asian card. Once you break it down between Chinese, Japanese, Cambodian, Vietnamese, Sri Lankans, Iranians, Indonesians, right? They don't want to do all that, right? See the game of this. And they do not want Black Americans to see through their little silly, freaking infantile tactic, right? 11% is in general. Black Americans only make up about 2% or so, a little bit more than 2% in Glendora. But they ain't going to talk about that. Let's continue.
Mr. Huang says he was also dealing with directives to increase arrests. He showed us messages from the president of the Police Officers Association, urging officers to push arrest numbers up to 1,700 a year. Other messages sent out to officers included, "The jail sure is empty," and "Those crickets are getting loud."
If you put a pressure and you put an expectation of a quota onto officers, it just gives them, opens the door to corruption, to do unethical stops, unethical arrests.
When Officer Huang finally reported the harassment, he says the department did not protect him. Instead, he says his complaint was exposed.
He thought he was one of them, and they showed him, look, you're not one of us, and he got his feelings hurt.
And then he became the target of 3 separate investigations.
They did it in retaliation to try to make it look like he was bad at his job, to create a sort of pseudo paper trail to try to terminate him.
Every day we put on a badge and gun and a bulletproof vest, and it's a grim reminder of the risks that we take on an everyday basis in order to protect the community, only to be betrayed, racially discriminated.
And you see how his aura, how his mannerisms were, right? He wanted to portray himself as a little bit more of a docileness, right? That he is the victim, right? But at the same time, again, he has no clue about the blatant, consistently anti-American Black hatred. Should I say he knows a little bit, but they don't care. Right? See, they want Black Americans too to be, again, the saviors of across the board type of personnel in general. Right? But Black Americans cannot get no reciprocity back from these various other groups. Because if they real is about something, they'd be like, you know what? We stand together with our Black Americans, because without Black Americans, many of us also would not be able to come to America, right? Because we slide under minority cards, and some of us slide under communities of color, and we get how many of us get business grants and loans and etc. You know, and they utilize us and stuff like that to surpass certain sections of Black Americanism. So there's all kind of tactics going on, but they don't want to talk about that, because what they want to do is sit there and put more people in enforcement, put more of their people in politics, get more of their organizations. Oh man, across the board, you look at all kind of organizations, specifically talking about Asians. How many organizations specifically talking about Koreans? Organizations specifically talking about Chinese. But Black Americans are the only people that's supposed to say they African. Out of here. You see how this little disgusting tactic, but relating this situation, where's all the gigantic Korean type personnel up there in California saying, hey, there's a lot of blatant disrespect and racism going on toward Black Americans? Let me sit there and show you what they do, many of them. Yes, that's what numbers of them do. And various other cultures backgrounds. I'm just giving an example because this guy, he's Korean, and he's sitting there through certain sections of Japanese on the bus. He's like, hey, I'm not Japanese, I'm Korean. So you say, okay. So again, what are you going to do to stand with Black Americans? Now, Black Americans don't need them 0% of none, right? But it's like how many have got opportunities based upon Black pain, right? So you say, what you going to do? Repay Black Americans for various types of Koreans being able to come over to America and not have to go through any significantity of hatred like Black Americans. So why don't you sit there and fight for a Black anti-American hate crime bill for Black Americans, as numbers of genericality of Asian groups, because it's a certain look of Asian that people think that's what the Asians are supposed to look like, whatever that's supposed to mean. And what? Well, then when Biden got in office, it took every bit of that piece of the time to get a across the board, generically anti-Asian hate crime bill. The nerve, and they utilize Black folks to sit there and like, oh my goodness, Black folks sit there beating down Asians. Asians a continent. What are you talking about, right? Which people are you talking about? See the game of that. See the game. But they don't talk about the blatant anti-Americanism by certain sections of Asianism, the ones it applies to. Right? In this situation, yes, there are many stories of various types of Koreans showing blatant anti-American Black racism. Oh, they don't talk about that. Again, you'd be like, so what are y'all going to do? Huh? To stand with Black Americans then to right the wrong that numbers of y'all done. What are you going to do? Yeah, that's what they're going to do. Right? Just like this right here. How many of them were messed over? I'm not even talking about Koreans, because back in the 1800s, when most of the Western days was happening, there would have been barely to nothingness of Koreans in America, which is a whole different topic in itself, right? But watch this for a second. Who stole? But Black Americans were fighting in the 1800s way more than across the board in general Asianness, because who was over in America in the 1800s? Basically, numbers of some Chinese. Basically, they were the primary personnel in America because they were the main culture that was coming over in the California Gold Rush from 1840, 1849. Then there would have been barely to nothing of Koreans, Cambodians, Laotians. You get the point. Not that many Japanese, 0 point nothing would have been in America in the 1800s like that. And so numbers of, anyway, I'm going to all that. So the point I'm making is that, getting back to the story, the guy, this Korean guy, the officer, he got his remindment card. And how, oh my goodness, I mean, I'm the only Asian in the police department and they were doing this to me. Oh, but he don't want to talk about this, right? breaking down Glendora police stops. Glendora, this particular department, officers were 6.1 times more likely to stop black people than white people. Based on stops per 10,000 residents, officers stopped people 2.617 times in 2023. See that Korean cop who got his reminder card? Oh, he don't want to talk about that. Oh, he'll get quiet on things like that. Very quiet, right? He don't have to see his culture didn't have to worry about this. And in the election that Biden won, right? Oh, anyway, on that. He didn't have to worry about this part of getting insulted. Biden didn't insult Koreans by saying this.
So if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. So if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Did Biden say anything? Did Biden say anything to Koreans saying you ain't Korean if you don't vote for him? Nope. Right? The insultingness of that part of it. But at the same time, one last thing I want to sit there and show you. As I relayed over, see, that particular Korean officer, he won't talk about things like this, right? Look at this for a second. And some other certain sections of Asianism. One applies to. Not talking about some of the good numbers of Asians, whatever that's supposed to mean, because Asia is a continent, right? Iran is an Asian. Iraq is an Asian country. Oh, they don't want to talk about that, right? See, millions of American blacks, like some other people have been taught, this is what they think is an Asian person look like, or from India. That is not what only Asian person look like. And even with that, that's a little situation in itself, right? But this situation, that Korean officer, oh, they don't know nothing. Or if they do, they're playing willfully ignorant or willfully naive, right? How many numbers of Korean personnel, oh, they don't talk about this. Black American father reports daughter kidnapped by heinous mother. He gets racially terrorized by these bad seeds. Oh, they don't talk about that, right? But that Korean cop got his reminder and start complaining and start acting like he's a victim because they reminded him, right? They be like, look here, wanna be Anglo, you're not one of us. Well, I can't be, right? Oh, they don't talk about this. See, they don't want to talk about this right here. Oh, I'm sorry. These are some of the podcasts I've done on this Real CP show. Phantom Black Man, a Caucasian officer shoots at that never existed. What other males in America? See, that Korean guy, he not to worry about this right here. A black male passenger that was armed with a long boom boom piece of equipment, and they found out that this particular heinous KKK-minded bad seed enforcement personnel, he lied. Because he was saying, oh my goodness, no, he's pursued this black man that's sitting there aiming and boom booming right at him. And they found out he lied. There was no black male whatsoever. There was no black male whatsoever. That blatant Ku Klux Klan type enforcement officer blatantly lied. As you see right here, it said former deputy accused of faking chase shooting. He faked the chase and said it was a black male that he was chasing that had a boom boom piece of equipment sticking out the car. Not Koreans. Right? So again, you know what? Hold on. Let me stop this right here. Let me get back out of this. Let me sit there and show you another one. I'm going to show you one other one besides this one. See, they don't want to talk about this. This is another one I did. Because he was talking about the Korean guy was like, he got his reminder. I can't believe it's 2025. Oh, when he didn't talk about this because, oh, he gave quiet on this. Because he got his remindment. Robert Brooks, the anti-black terrorism toward him, no other culture in America for centuries. What other, show me a Korean, Chinese, Japanese, Cambodian, Vietnamese, right? Sri Lankan, Iranian, Iraqi, from India. Show one time that they've been kicked around like this by savages, bad seas. Nope. But that Korean officer got his remindment thinking that he was one of them. He won't talk about that with his little naive self, right? But he want to pretend that he was a victim. What about the blatant anti-American black racism going on in various parts of California up there toward Black Americans by certain sections of Asianism, like certain types of anti-Black Americanism, by certain type of Hispanicism? See, they play dumb. See, this Korean cop, he playing dumb. He got a remindment up there in that police department. They showed him, don't you think you one of us, boy? One last podcast I did. Well, I'm just showing you. This is another one. This Anglo-Philly officer racially terrorized a black high school boy and other black teens. But that particular Korean cop, he got his remindment and he thought he was one of them. I can't believe this happened in 2025 in that police department. I mean, I'm not even Japanese, I'm Korean. What? See, don't talk about the blatant anti-Americanism, blatant KKK, anti-American blackism in certain sections of enforcement toward Black Americans inside of departments, outside of departments, in various types of communities. The list goes on. They don't talk about that. But they got an anti-Asian hate crime law, just like that. Generic island across the board, right? So again, this is from the Real CP show. This Anglo-Philly officer racially terrorized black high school boy and other black teens. Please go ahead and show where these Koreans had the same significance of this anti-Korean hatred by these racist terrorists like this person like here. Nope. The game is for the game. Because again, one last time, in the video I showed you, that Korean officer who got his remindment at that Glendora Police Department, I can't believe, some of my supervisors, they were sitting there talking this, and I felt basically, disrespected and, racism, but he don't want to talk about this either. Again, breaking down Glendora police stops. Glendora Police Department officers were 6.0 times more likely to stop black people than white people. Oh, so that Korean cop that got his reminder on this Glendora Police Department, he ain't said nothing about that because that's not what his concern is. Right? Was he part of this situation right here? Because they say he started in 2023. So what did he also stop some Black Americans himself? And he got quiet on and he knew he should have stopped? So he didn't want to talk about that, right? But again, he wanted to play victim himself. But people tell Black Americans, they talk about the past too much, as if most cultures and backgrounds and alternative lifestyle categories and immigrationists have been around longer than Black Americans. Are you crazy? Black Americans been in this country for centuries, and nobody else can compare to the Black pain that Black Americans have been going through and still going through right now. And so many people have sit there, have ridden in the wagon off of what Black Americans have been going through for centuries. And it is disgusting and despicable. But they know already it's not enough Black Americans to checkmate these people that are riding the coattails of Black Americans. Don't get it confused. I know that unfortunately there are some naive ones, Black Americans, there are some gullible ones. I'm not talking about them. They are lost. So I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP show. there is no pan Asian love.
Who stole